Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. The state of Wisconsin is going to be awarding about $43 million for broadband projects, and most of that money is going to local providers. Be right back with the numbers. Thanks for joining me, Rick Husey, here with Broadband Deployment News. So this is encouraging for a lot of smaller providers. Of course, it's going to depend on what state you're in. But you see here Wisconsin broadband funds, AT&T, Charter, Frontier, Wind, but local providers get most of it. This is in Telecompetitor. So I was going to look at this article and then also break down some of the numbers. So you see here AT&T, Charter, and Frontier won broadband funding from the state of Wisconsin earlier this month for deployments in unserved and underserved rural areas, but the lion's share of the $42 million awarded went to smaller local companies. It's actually low. It's about a little over $43 million because the $42 million it talks about here is from the Capital Projects Fund, and there's also state and local fiscal recovery funds, which I assume those both are from ARPA, the federal programs of the same name. All projects that received funding will use fiber broadband. AT&T was the biggest winner among the three major companies. The company won 3 grants totaling $2.3 million and committed to contributing a large percentage of total project costs, over $18.7 million. So we'll see that in the numbers that I look at. There were some nice matches, especially from AT&T here on what they were going to be kicking into this. And you can see here that AT&T, again, won $2.3 million, but $18.7 million matches, large percentage. I'm assuming that's the match there. We'll see. Charter's win was $2.9 million, and the company will contribute an additional $3.5 million to the project cost. Frontier's win was $281,000, and the company will contribute an additional $377,960. So you can see that all three contributed over 100%. With AT&T, I think it's like 800%. We'll take a quick look at that here in a bit. Most of the funding awarded came from the Capital Projects Fund, broadband infrastructure. Funding for the program came through the Federal Capital Projects Fund, so that was, and then about $1.3 million of funding awarded came through the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. So again, I'm assuming that's from from ARPA, because ARPA had two funds in it, also the same name. So the Capital Projects Fund, which was $10 billion that states could use for broadband, and then the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, I believe, was $350 billion, quite a bit more, but and a lot of states used most of that, if not all of that money, for their broadband needs, although others could use it for any other kind of infrastructure. This is all under the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA. So again, that's probably where that money came from. 3 local companies had the highest award totals announced this month. Those 3 companies and their winnings, you see Barden Telephone Cooperative, they won $12.6 million and will contribute about $14 million toward the total project cost. Pierce Pepin Cooperative, DBA Swift Current, won 3 awards totaling $8 million and will contribute $13 million toward project cost. East Central Energy, doing business as ECE Fiber, won 2 awards totaling about $7.2 million and will contribute $8.8 million toward project costs. So you can see, again, everybody's contributing. You know, we're looking at BEAD as the minimum match being 25% that's required. And here, companies are contributing over 100% match in most cases. And I've got a spreadsheet where we'll break that down and look at it. Total of 13 companies won funding, and you can see who they are here. So I scroll down there. Additional details about the Wisconsin Broadband Awards can be found at this link. I'll click on that in a second. And that's pretty much it there. So, and this again is encouraging because we've been hearing from some of our customers who tend to be companies like this, small to medium-sized providers. Some of them just active in a state, maybe sometimes just in a town or city in a state, and some of them in across a portion of the state or multiple states. But we found that some of the smaller guys are telling us, we just don't feel, we talked to them about BEAD and they're like, well, we just don't feel like we have a shot at that. So this goes to show you that the state of Wisconsin is looking at who can provide service. And obviously with AT&T to win this, they kicked in a lot as far as matching funds, whereas that would be really difficult, what they did, for some of these other companies to be able to do. So state of Wisconsin is not shutting out the large operators like AT&T and Charter and Frontier, and that makes sense because if there's an area, let's say I don't know the lay of the land here, but let's say AT&T's there and they've got some adjacent areas that they've been wanting to expand into, but it's just going to be expensive and it would help to get a little bit from the state. then that would make the most sense for them and the state for them to serve that area, not necessarily a local provider if that local provider is not going to be able to do it for the same amount of money, or maybe there's just not a local provider there. So again, they're not locking out the big companies, but they're also obviously looking at the smaller companies. So I just want to make sure that if you're a small ISP or smaller ISP, that maybe again mid-size, smaller, that that doesn't mean you can't get funding. Now, I want to let you know that we can help you there. We've got, if you go to our website and look under products, that's decorum.com, look under products, look under broadband grant assistance. You'll find information there about how we can help you with the grant process. And it's a big part of it is software that will basically walk you through the process, help you make sure that you can get your grants in, see what the area looks like, see which areas are the ones that are not covered. And you can kind of visually look at that and decide what you're going to do, maybe calculate some estimates on cost, those kinds of things. So check that out. That can make it much easier for you if you're not sure where to begin. It's kind of like, they'll call it the TurboTax for grant software, because you go on TurboTax and you want to do your taxes. It kind of walks you through step by step what you need to do. This would be a similar kind of thing. So check that out. So if you click on that in the article on the more information on the grant projects, you'll see here capital projects fund broadband infrastructure. And then down here, there is, what is it? Here it is, summary of awards. So I clicked on that, and that will bring you to this page. And this is where you see you've got the capital projects fund, but again, there's some state and local fiscal recovery down at the bottom here. So they mentioned here 2 projects awarded under state and local fiscal recovery, and they're at the end of the report. So we've got capital projects funds, 28 projects, and you can see the awards for that, 41, almost 42 million. And there you see your match, over 68 million. And then scroll down here, you've got 2 state and local fiscal recovery funds, and then you've got the totals there. And as you look at it, you can see that the projects tend to be mostly residential, and then some businesses, and then you'll see some community anchor institutions. So you see here 1331, 100 businesses and 4 community anchor institutions. Here 463 residential, 142 businesses, 1 community anchor institution, that kind of thing as you go down the list here. So I wanted to focus more in on what the awards were and the matches. So I went ahead and took this data and put it in a larger spreadsheet and then added a few columns. So I guess I could have made these bigger here. I didn't think about that, but so you got your grantee and your project description, same as there in the award. I went ahead and totaled up the number of locations and then an amount per location. And then I figured the match percentage. I was curious about that. And then I just kind of did the total funds here on the side. So you can see here, and I sorted it alphabetically to make it easy to find certain ones. So you can see here you got 24/7 telecom. So one thing I noticed is these are very reasonable amounts for per location. Obviously 8,700 is a lot more than 22 or 2,800, same thing. 540, 452. So some of them are very reasonable, and it's going to depend on how difficult the area is. And then also, well, it's interesting here that you've got some of the smaller amounts per location. It's going to depend on the bid. So you see AT&T, again, I base this not on the total funds, because as I've been looking at this, whenever I look at this, I usually don't know what the match is. So I always base it on how much per location that the government is paying for. And that's what this is. So obviously these amounts are less because AT&T is kicking in a whole bunch. I probably should have looked at it this and that to try to see how these areas themselves compared. But a lot of this is based on the match from AT&T here, because these areas are going to be a lot more expensive than they're showing right here. And you can see that's because they've got like an 800% match that they're kicking in. So even though they're only getting $535,000 for these 61 locations, it's actually going to be more like 1.6 over 1.6 million because of the total match that they're kicking in. Then you've got, again, this is the largest, I think, that the operator that won the largest amount. And their matches are going to vary, 82%, so less than 100% there, but 122, 82, 150, et cetera. This is one of the state and local fiscal recovery for Cochrane Cooperative. This is here one for this one is company as well. That's the state and local fiscal recovery. And you can see, again, the matches, they're going to vary, but a lot of them, most of them actually are 100% or more. So you see 122, 150, here's a couple of hundreds, 186, 150, 121. The smallest one is 67%, and that was Wittenberg Telephone, DBA Serenity in the town of Neva. So they got 900,000. They're kicking in 600,000, so 1.5 million going towards that. So down here you see the totals. So again, this is if you look at both funds, Capital Projects Fund and the state and local fiscal recovery funds, you've got a total of over 43.1 million to serve 15,000, almost 16,000 locations. Amount per location is wrong. I did my math wrong, obviously, there. I just probably pulled down the number and totaled it. So that's obviously not right. I should have done an average there. But the average is going to be somewhere around probably 2,000 to 3,000 maybe. Again, being skewed by AT&T's 800% match in there. Then you've got the total match here. The average match 162%. So again, looking at what companies have to do with BEAD, 25% match. There's a little bit of leeway in that program if it's an extremely high cost area where it's just going to be really expensive, where states could look at waiving the match or reducing the match. States are primarily going to be looking to get a higher match to try to do what you have here. So again, you've got $43 million that the government is funding, but you're turning that into over $113 million from matches from the providers. So this is a good indicator of what providers say they can do in this program, and that might be kind of an indicator of what they can do with BEAD. Now they are under more pressure, pricing and cost pressure from inflation that's taken off on them, but all of that will be factored in when they make these decisions on what the state will make the decision on what the match needs to be, and the providers will decide based on how badly they want to win an area on what their proposed match is going to be. I'm assuming that that's going to be the way that is handled. And I found it interesting here. If you looked at this grant, it says not accepting applications now, but matching funds required, and it's a no, but it's a priority factor. So I'm assuming they said, yeah, there's no match required, but if you want to have a shot, we're going to allow people to let us know what their match is, and obviously some are kicking in more than others. And it's going to depend, again, on the size of the company, the difficulty of the area, what kind of resources they have. A company like AT&T's got huge resources that they can use, and this might be an area that is very advantageous to them because, again, they might have infrastructure nearby, so they were able to do that. And I'm assuming people did not know what was being bid and what the matches were. So when it comes out later, companies might look and go, wow, I really put a lot on the table there, or wow, I didn't put as much in and I'm happy I got that area. But again, some areas, there'd be areas that an AT&T would not want to do and a small operator would, because it's better for them and they're going to have a better shot at that. So those are the numbers. Again, encouraging there, both the fact that we've got small operators that are able to participate in this program, and hopefully that will be the same for BEAD in lots of areas, lots of states. Hopefully the states will be looking at all operators of all types, and that could be independent telephone companies, cable companies, fixed wireless for areas that are really difficult to serve. They should have a shot there. And then, of course, large operators, if it makes sense, they should not be locked out, but also obviously small operators, your independent telephone companies, cable companies, those kinds of folks need to be involved. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. If this was helpful, if you give me a like on the video, appreciate that. And if you're not subscribed to our channel, click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and you will be notified when I'm live. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.